This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm down here in Kent today, delighted to be joined by Shane McGuiggin. Shane, it's been a while since I've seen you. How you been?
Yeah, good, thanks Ryan, mate. Yeah, it has been a while since you've been down, so nice to have you back.
It was indeed nice to come down. I saw Luke Campbell doing a bit of sparring. We'll start with him. We're still waiting on news. Obviously, purse bids were postponed and then cancelled.
Yeah.
Deal reached with Ryan Garcia. We are still waiting on a date. Can you tell me where we are with that?
No, I can't really. We still haven't found out the full details of the show and the date and the venue and stuff like that. So trying to work it out at the moment. Obviously, I've got Coley in a world title fight as well in December. So Eddie and Matchroom USA are working closely with Golden Boy on making sure that everything can sort of run smoothly. And at the moment we just keep our head down. We're training away. Earliest it can be is November 14th, I think it is, and the latest will be the last weekend of before Christmas. So I think it's like the 19th. So yeah, we will. We'll know pretty soon about what the date is.
No, I appreciate you are still waiting on the date, but once the purse bids were cancelled and you'd been informed that a deal had been reached, after everything that had gone on with the Fortuna fight and all the delays we had, was it almost a relief for yourself and Luke to know that there is a fight there, a big fight there to work towards as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think at Luke's stage of his career, he needs to be motivated. He has to have the bit between the teeth. He's coming off a loss to Lomachenko. Ideally, we would have liked a little tune-up fight, but just the way things have worked, we've got the Fortuna for the world title fight, and then that's all just gone peak tongue. So we'll take the opportunities that we're given and that come up. And I think something like a Ryan Garcia fight is what Luke needs at this stage of his career. He needs to get motivated for big fights, and this is going to definitely draw a lot of attention from both sides of the pond, and there's a lot of people interested in it. We just have to go out there and get a convincing win. Luke's he's in a strong position in the sense like he's got a marketable name, but he needs to start. He needs to start capitalising and just getting the victories. He's had a couple of losses. He's turned over the Mendy loss. He'd like to get the revenge against Linares, but Linares he's still kicking about. That could be a potential, and obviously Lomachenko. So he's been beaten by two good guys there, but I feel like he's still improving as a fighter. But he needs to beat these young guys coming through, and that's what we're going to set out to do.
Final one on that, Shane. With all the delays we've had in the stage Ryan's at in his career, were you surprised that he elected and wanted to have that fight right straight away, right now?
Definitely. I don't know what's going on really with him. Obviously, he's good talent. He hasn't really been tested. This is a big gamble for him. He's obviously seen chinks in Luke's armour. From the Lomachenko fight, probably from previous fights, but it's good. It's something that we want a guy that's young and ambitious and hungry to come in with full confidence, because that's what look, if you want to be successful in this game, and I think he does. He doesn't just want to be some Instagram star, Instagram famous sort of boxer. I think he genuinely wants to do big things, and you gotta respect that. From a promotional side, it could backfire on them, but they're a very seasoned, very established promotional outfit, and they've taken through a hell of a lot of good talent in the past. So you can't question what they're doing. I just think stars make fights, and I think Luke Campbell is a nightmare for someone like Ryan Garcia.
Let's just work through the rest of the team, Shane. I appreciate a lot of people are sort of waiting on different things. We'll start with Lawrence Coley. We do expect him to face Glowacki for the WBO on the Joshua bill. Any idea when we expect a sort of official confirmation of that to come?
Well, I think it's scheduled. It's looking like December the 12th. I think it's either the first or second week in December. Obviously, they're looking at trying to get crowds out, but with the announcement the other day, that's looking more highly unlikely. So I think something will be announced pretty soon. Obviously, they've got the big Pulev announcement to do first, but Lawrence was he was scheduled to box on the undercard on June the 20th when that was first scheduled. So yeah, I mean, look, we're still in prime position. We're still chief support of that bill, and it's a great opportunity for Lawrence. He's got a world title fight in his 15th fight, and he's been matched hard, but he's he's winning, sometimes ugly, but he's still winning and he's getting up there. I think sometimes up at the top level, they're not going to try and smother him and try and take away the advantage of what he has is, you know, length on his shots and the way he can physically impose himself on boxers. I think sometimes that's overwhelming. So guys try and get close to punching short, then it becomes a tangled up, messy fight. But I think someone like Glowacki, someone like Bradis, even someone like Dorticus, those guys that punch at distance, that's when you're going to see the best out of Lawrence Coley, because one, if they clip you, they're going to hurt you, and you just got to be razor sharp when you're on it. So from the guy I see in the gym every day, I want to transcend that into a fight, and I really believe Glowacki can be the one that does that.
Just to stay with the cruiserweight, it's the second day back in camp for Chris Billam-Smith today after his victory at Fight Camp. There's talk that Riakporhe's going to be vacating the British title. Chris and Dion Juma could go in for that. Is that what you want next for him? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, Dion's been in the gym a lot. Seen him in the gym. Chris has done rounds with him in the past. You know, George has done rounds with Dion as well. So he's a lot of hype behind that guy. I think that's a great fight for. It's a great fight for both boxers, you know. And it'd be great to get it for the British title, as well as Chris's Commonwealth. So, you know, that's looking quite positive. We've also got to try and work towards a date with that. There was a potential of it going on October the 31st. You know, Goodwin and the team knocked that back. So we'll wait and see. We'll sort of see if it can get out in December. November. It could even get out on December the 12th as well, which is the AJ card. So we're pushing for it. I think it's a great fight. Dion's come off a good win against Sam Hyde. He's also knocked out Wally Camacho. So yeah, it's a good domestic fight, and it's one that I'm very, very confident that Chris is going to win, and you know, inside the distance.
Alfie Price was down here today, saw him do a few rounds with Luke Campbell. He's someone who you've had in and out before, doing sparring with various fighters. I understand you're now working with him sort of full time. Yeah. Tell me a bit about that link up and how excited we should be about the future of that young man.
Very excited. I'm really excited about him. You know, it's not often that I get excited about you know working with new guys, but he's such a nice guy. He's a very likeable lad. Sells a lot of tickets as well. Very popular lad around his area. You know, there's always been a lot of stories about Alfie. You know, he's always held his own with the likes of Linares. We got him in for the Lomachenko camp. I also used him a lot for when Josh Taylor was boxing Regis Prograis. He did 10 rounds flat out straight through with Taylor on many occasions. So, you know, he's no slouch. He was boxing at lightweight. He's 7-0. He's not got any stoppages on his record, but he hasn't been taught to really go through the gears. And I really believe that, working with myself, I'm going to drop him down to super feather. I think he'll do that comfortably. You know, at a stretch, he probably could even do bloody featherweight. I think he's been boxing way out of his weight class. You know, he's not been sort of filling up from weigh-in to fight time. I think, you know, I think super feathers his weight, because by the time we start doing lots of strength conditioning and sort of building him up, I think he'll be big for that weight. And you know, from what I'm seeing recently, he's starting to be able to sit down on his shots a little bit more, and you know, he's got all the skills, got all the attributes. I believe he'll beat the likes of Zelfa Barrett right now. Said it to Eddie Hearn. I said, look, let's get someone like him straight away. Eddie obviously wants to keep Zelfa winning, but I think, you know, it's one of those ones domestically. I believe he's going to beat them all. He's going to run through them all, because he's a serious talent, and you know, he's like a sponge. He's just learning, and you know, he matches everybody in the gym for talent, and you know, the things that he lacks, I think that he's going to start picking up from the other guys. And it's a lot of the time it's a mindset, and it's a maturity of the athlete, and I think, you know, in time this kid's going to be something special.
Shane, just a few things away from your stable. We saw Maris Bradis claim the Muhammad Ali Trophy, the IBF World title on Saturday night with a victory over Unil Dorticus. Yeah. I'm sure you saw the fight or bits of the fight. What do you make of his performance?
I thought he boxed really well. After 4 rounds, I think he lost the first couple. He started getting to his groove, and Dorticus was just very. It's the way he's always been. He's very attritional. He just sort of keeps a one pace, steady pace, pushes people back. It's not like a Cuban style at all. You know, but one thing he has is just unbelievable punching power. And he's got a fantastic work rate. You know, you saw against Tabiti, you know, he was sort of struggling at the start, but then he started tiring him out, pushing him back, and then he obviously caught him with that shot. But I thought Bradis was, you know, I personally thought he might have tired at the later stage of the fight, but he used his feet really well, and you know, he was very disciplined. He was moving. He didn't get caught up in exchange. As soon as he was backwards against the ropes, he was moving his head, smothering. He wasn't exchanging at that middle to long distance when he was backs against the ropes. I thought they had a very good game plan, and I think it was all down to the work that Chris Billam-Smith did with him. No, I'm joking. You know, he had great rounds with Bradis, and very professional people. So, you know, I was very happy for Bradis to win, and I think you know, I think he put on a great performance. It was a really classy performance, and he sort of went through the gears late on in the fight. But you know, I think really if he'd have bit down the gum shot and wanted to get him out there, he probably could have. He hurt him a few times, but you know, he boxed perfectly to a well structured game plan.
Bradis has since announced, I'm sure I read somewhere online, that he's going to be joining the other guys that were in that first tournament with him and go up to heavyweight. Yeah. Usyk's going, we've got Gassy looking to make his debut, Bradis. Which of those top cruisers that's moving up do you think is best suited to the heavyweight division, and why?
It's an interesting one. You know, I think it's really it's a shame about Gassy. I don't know what's going on. I mean, you know, I think he's definitely fit. He looks like he's put a little bit too much weight on. Usyk's obviously had a bit of injuries as well at one stage, so I think he's only had the one fight up at heavyweight. I don't know how any of those guys are gonna. I mean, Usyk probably the most, because you know, he's not, from what he did to Gassy. I think him versus Chisora, I think he'll just completely outwork him and win a wide points decision. But the issue that the heavyweights has got is they're not, people like Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, they're not going to give Gassy a chance to even box him, you know. And then you've got that tier down where you've got the Filip Hrgovic's, you've got the Joe Joyce's, Tony Yoka's, you know, Daniel Dubois. Like, they're all on their own path to get up to top, the easiest route. So the issue that these cruiserweights coming in through, not someone like Bradis, but someone like Gassy is going to have is, where does he fit in? He's gonna be prized out of exciting fights, because he's a hard night's work for anybody. Usyk's being a WBO champion, you get a direct shot at the WBO title above, which is obviously held by AJ. So once AJ beats Pulev, I think, you know, there might have to be discussions, or he might have to take step aside money if they want to make the Tyson Fury fight, which I actually think might take a bit longer to make. So, you know, I think someone like AJ will be too big for Usyk, because he's big and athletic and quick. You know, you saw Joe Joyce in the amateurs starting to get to him out in those 5 rounds. You know, AJ's a quicker, more explosive version of that. You know, but it's going to be interesting. I think time will tell. I think Bradis is too small, to be honest. I think he should stay at cruiser, but all the money's up at heavyweight. So, you know, it's just the way it works. But we have a division at heavyweight that's now becoming flooded with big names, which is brilliant. But as long as they box each other, and you know, the issue that the heavyweight division has always had is when there's one ruler, like Vladimir Klitschko for a decade, it was very hard. None of the other guys wanted to take fights in the meantime. You know, they wouldn't box each other, so they were just waiting on their shot to get at Klitschko. And I think if the AJ scenario's a little bit similar. You know, people are waiting on that golden fight against him, or Fury. So I think they're going to get prized out a fight for a belt. It'll be interesting to see those guys box the likes of Hrgovic, the likes of Martin Coley, the likes of Dubois, Joyce. You know, these are the fights that would be interesting to see, the likes of Usyk, Gassy, and Bradis, but none of those cruiserweights coming up will want to challenge, you know, people like that. So, and vice versa. So it's a bit of, it's a bit of a sticky one, but as long as the promoters can try and get some big fights, it'll be interesting. But I think Usyk's probably the guy with the most amount of potential to do something at heavyweight.
I'm going to keep this next one short because we've done a segment on it, which you'll have to check out on the Boxing Social podcast in a couple of weeks. I'll get the plug in now. Vasily Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez were just a couple of weeks out. Yeah. You've been in the opposite corner against Vasily Lomachenko. What is Teofimo Lopez's best chance of having success in this fight, in your opinion?
His best chance is, is if he imposes himself and doesn't try and have a boxing match. If he tries to push him back and work, at controlling the fight from the centre and pushing Lomachenko back. Once Lomachenko gets control of the fight, he gets control of the centre of the ring, he's an absolute nightmare because he can adjust in and out of range all the time. Do I think Lopez has got the ability to do it? Personally, I don't think so. He looks for one big spectacular shot, and you're not going to find it with a guy like Vasily Lomachenko. So I think the way to beat Lomachenko is he's only going to get beaten by size and stature, and I think someone like Lopez is definitely a size bigger than him, but he's not a combination puncher, and he's not really a front foot sort of attritional wear you down guy. He's sort of a pot shotter, and I think the pace, the speed of the speed of Lomachenko, not the power of him, just the speed, the pace that he fights at, will be too much for Lopez, and I think he should get to him late rounds.
Final one, Shane. I'm not really sure where to begin with this one, but catching the headlines in the boxing news over the last week, Manny Pacquiao and Conor McGregor seem to be on the road to a boxing match. These exhibition bouts, well, it wouldn't even be an exhibition, but these fights that we're seeing, the likes of Mayweather, McGregor, and now McGregor-Pacquiao, what do you make when you see headlines of these fights and the whole spectacle of it as well?
It's an entertainment sport, and you can't really knock it. Some of the real boxing, pugilists and people, it's terrible for the game, but it creates excitement, it creates attention. Manny Pacquiao's, he's not declined that much, but he's definitely declined. He had a good win against Keith Thurman, but I think if this is in Saudi Arabia, it's going to be an exciting event, and I think it will bring both sides of the audience. There's a fantastic audience in the UFC. They've got these cult followings, and us as boxing fans as well. We're always going to back our own. So I think it's good for the sport at times. I don't think the YouTubers are good for the sport. I don't think that's the best. Sorry, there's a bit of floating around thing there. I don't think the YouTubers are the best for the sport. As long as they're boxing each other, then that's fine. But when they start boxing the likes of Floyd Mayweather, is going to have an exhibition bout potentially against Logan Paul. That's where it goes too far for me. But Manny Pacquiao versus Conor McGregor, I think I'd be all for that, and I think it's a fight that Pacquiao will definitely win, and show that there's a sweet science at this game, and you can't just jump in at the top level. You have to go through the whole motions of boxing internationally as an amateur, going through the journeyman, going through the fringe world level, up to world level, and then up to the unified status. And someone like Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, they've done that in so many weight categories. They are proven and tested, and yes, they're slightly a shell of what they used to be, but they're still phenomenal athletes. And I think Conor McGregor once again will bite off more than he can chew.
All right, well, Shane, I've just got one more thing to address before I let you shoot. In a Boxing Social interview you did a couple months ago, there were accusations thrown around that I had in fact eaten a cheeseburger that was meant to be for former world champion Miguel Vasquez. I would just like to get on camera and defend myself. Not true, Shane McQuiggin.
Really? I think we'll have to see. It was Blaine that told me that. He said that Miguel Vasquez, they'd ordered in a Mackie D's and he was sitting it, and you'd got rid of yours so quickly. Maybe he was just full, and the whole adrenaline of the fight, he just had no appetite. But are you sure you didn't polish it off?
I'm about 99% sure.
99% sure. All right, cool. Did you polish off one of his coaches' ones or not?
Could have happened. We'll leave it there, Shane McGuigan. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
All the best.